This is Lesson 10 in our study of Proverbs 31, and I'm glad you've joined me for another lesson of our study of Moxy. She is an example of a woman who is a force of character, determination, courage, and nerve. And Lesson 10 is all about strength. Before we start, how are your CEO training going? Were you a CEO this past week, a CEO of your life? Did you take a good look at your finances? Take a step towards controlling them? And did you make a budget? Remember, you have to keep it simple. If it's too complicated, you don't have the time or energy to keep up with it. And a budget is simply this. It shows our income minus our expenses. That gives us our budget. And our expenses cannot only be debt. It has to be our living expenses too. You have to eat, you have to dress yourself, you need insurance, and you need gas. All of those come together to give us our expenses, and our budget is a roadmap. It tells us where we may need to cut back or where we may need to increase. And getting a different job, looking for a better job, is not all bad. Change can be good. Did you make some decisions, even little ones? Well, if you're not a decision maker, you've got to start small. And as soon as you make that first little decision and actually say it, you're going to be flooded with voices in your head to say it was the wrong decision, nobody's going to like it, it's going to be a terrible time, everyone's going to hate it. You've got to turn those voices off. I was reminded when I began writing that I had sent a manuscript to an editor, and when it was returned, it had several sentences underlined and phrases circled and the word passive written in the margin. And I decided I never wanted to be considered passive. I wanted to be decisive. I wanted to be decisive in life, and I wanted to be decisive in writing. So when I go back over and read something that I've written, I'm looking for those passive phrases, those ideas that make me look like I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, where I may not be quite decisive enough, and I change them. I remove the words or I add words to it. And that is a great segue into our next lesson. Lesson 10, Strength. And the verse says this: she girds her loins with vigor and strengthens her arms. Now sometimes we read scripture and some spiritual metaphor comes out, and other times we can read it very literally. We're going to take this one very literally. And the first part of it is we're going to talk about physical fitness. Now I'm not sure if I've ever described someone to have vigorous legs. It's an image that makes me laugh. It sounds like a cartoon character. But it takes work to have vigorous legs. In other words, to have very strong legs. It doesn't just happen. And if you're anywhere over the age of 39, you know that it doesn't keep happening. It requires exercise, and sometimes it requires a lot of it. But in this life that we are given, we are only given one life. And we are only given one body. We have got to take care of it. It was explained to me that when our cells reproduce, they don't reproduce brand new, beautiful, shiny cells. It is kind of like a copy machine. They're simply taking a copy, an image of the old cells. So if the old cells are worn down and broken and not healthy, that's how the new cell will be created. Our bodies are amazing, amazing creations, and they were intended to heal themselves. Now sometimes they need a little assistance with that. A lot of times they need medical help in order to heal themselves. But if we are giving them what they need to eat, if we are keeping them strong, if we are taking care of them, then all of those procedures or road bumps along the way, we recover quickly. We come out of it quickly. This one body is a gift, just as air that we breathe is a gift. And we must learn to take care of it. Do you remember the two words that we focused on in the first lesson? Connectedness and consistency. These come into play when we're talking about physical fitness. You can't eat crap and expect to be healthy. And you can't not exercise and expect not to gain weight or to get weak or to get flabby. There has to be a lot of connectedness and consistency in what we put in our mouth and what's healthy for our body, wanting to be strong and healthy individuals, and how we take care of our bodies to do that. And we can never, ever allow ourselves to get sucked into the newest fads. We are so much smarter than that. There are no magic pills, and there isn't a magical diet. It takes work. It takes living an ordered life. It takes being disciplined. It takes being committed to working out, to eating well. We have to learn to eliminate the stress in our life that comes from an ordered life. When our life is in order, stress has a tendency to be very minimal. All of those things affect our bodies. We also have to know our bodies. My sister did an internship with a doctor who told her that if you listen carefully to the patient, they will actually tell you what's wrong. And if you listen really closely, they may actually tell you how to fix it. We have to know our bodies. We have to be quiet and listen to them. Earlier this year, I found myself down for the count. In fact, I was so down that I was gathering my things to go to the hospital. And before I left, I thought I'll just call the nurse hotline one time. And I was assured that I wasn't in any danger, but that I should call my doctor. I did, and they made an appointment for me the next morning. And after my exam, I was told that I was fine, but that it was recommended that I have a procedure within the next couple of weeks. And I did. My husband and I were at the grocery store that afternoon, and I had this overwhelming craving for carrots. To my disappointment, there wasn't a carrot to be found. I couldn't believe it. The store had been a very busy grocery store. It had been a very busy weekend, but there were absolutely no carrots. 3 days later, I was back at the same grocery store, and I was so excited because the carrot truck had obviously been there. By the time I checked out, I was laughing at myself because I had at least 5 bags of carrots in my cart. I had baby carrots and whole carrots and chopped carrots, whatever they had, I had picked them up. And I couldn't wait to get back home. I steamed them, I smothered them with butter, I sprinkled a little brown sugar and cayenne pepper on them, and then I devoured them. I ate them for breakfast the next day. I ate them all day long. Carrots, it seemed so bizarre, so I went to my old friend the Google to find out what these wonderful creations had to offer me. And there were many things listed, but there were 2 that jumped off the screen: iron and potassium. The 2 things my body had been depleted of the week before. Go figure. My body knew what it needed to heal. Now, a few months earlier, I had had this great desire to get disciplined on riding my bike. It seemed like a weird desire, but I did it. When the weather didn't cooperate, I rode in my garage, and when it did, I rode outside. And after this first procedure I had, it was recommended that I would have a total hysterectomy. I thought through my options, and I took the recommendation, and I had amazing results. My recovery was easy. I had little to no side effects, and I was back on my bike in 4 weeks. Carrots and biking. My body knew what it needed, even before I did. I just had to listen. Now, most of us can't hear our bodies talk because we're so preoccupied with all the important conversations in our head. We have to get to know the unimportant voices and to turn them off, to tell them to be quiet and to go away. We have to stop trying to figure everything out. Sometimes things just happen to us. And we have to stop analyzing every thought or feeling that runs through our minds. Not every twinge in our muscles means we're dying. We have to stop blaming everyone else for our struggles. And we have to stop drowning in this pool of self-obsession and start living. Some of us need to stop talking. We need to sit down and listen. Sounds a whole lot like resting, doesn't it? You never know what you might hear. Sometimes it may be as profound as eat carrots and get on that bike. Now, there is another kind of strength, and it is called an emotional strength or an inner strength. Sometimes we may feel that we can't handle anything, that we are weak, that if only we were stronger, we could change our situation. I believe we were all created with a potential of having great emotional strength, but we've allowed life to mask it or hide it, to make us think we've lost it, but it's there. We may just have misplaced it. I don't know if we hear it often enough, but if you've lived through abuse, a serious illness, or a traumatic life situation such as divorce or bankruptcy, homelessness, an unexpected death of a spouse or a child, you are strong. You may be wounded, but you are strong because you survived. And not everyone does that. Not everyone can get to the other side. So if you are one of those who have made it through, it's time to take inventory of your experience. It's time to recognize that what it took to make it to the other end. And it's time to give yourself credit for the strength instead of feeling like a failure. The other thing that gets in our way is needing to find fault or passing blame. Turn those voices off. Blaming others or finding fault is only a control game. It only makes you feel superior and thus make you feel better. And if you're blaming yourself, get over it. Learn from it. Recognize the mistakes you made. Commit to never doing that again. And begin moving forward once again. After all, you survived. You are still here and you are wiser and stronger than you were before. So recognize that. Acknowledge it. There may be wounds. There may have been mistakes made, and you may be carrying guilt. It's time to let that all go. You've learned your lesson. And if not, do so. And move on with confidence that you are stronger and smarter because of your experience. My youngest granddaughter was born at 25 and a half weeks. She was a preemie. And I recall one of the doctors saying, what's on her side is she's a female. Female infants have a much higher survival rate. They have a different drive to survive. We are all born with that drive. So, vigorous legs and strong arms. This is a woman who takes care of her physical self. She makes it strong. She keeps it healthy. She plans to be around for a while. And she also has an inner strength, an emotional strength. It's come from years of experience. It comes from the need to survive. And she is a strong woman. The prayer that I leave with you this week is this: Forgiving Father, thank you for the bodies that you have given us. Help us to care for them, to keep them healthy and make them strong. Thank you for all our past experiences, especially those that allowed us to become stronger, and help us to rid ourselves of any guilt or blame that may be hindering us from being women of strength. Thank you for joining me in our 10th lesson. We are halfway through. Strength is a good thing, no matter if it's physical or emotional. I don't envision this being an outer garment like a coat or a shawl. This is an undergarment that protects and supports us. It is to be worn at all times. And the longer we wear it, the more comfortable it becomes, until it becomes as natural as our skin. It is a part of Moxy's wardrobe, and now it's a part of ours, as we are becoming women clothed in strength and dignity, and can laugh without fear of the future. If you're beginning to fall in love with Moxy as I have, I would love for you to share her with others. And that's very easy to do. Under the title of this lesson, you should see the word share. Click on it, and a line of icons will pop up. If you have a Facebook page, click the blue F box, and Moxy will show up on your page. We are moving on to chapter 11, and it's going to be an all-nighter. I'll meet you right back here.